Hey y'all, just a bit of a heads up, there's a Patreon exclusive companion vid to this one, the top 10 best pleasant surprises of 2006. Feel free to hop over on my Patreon. Everyone $1 and above gets early access to videos, plus Patreon exclusive videos, and other cool perks. Feel free to check that out. So last time we did this, we covered a pretty bad year. How about we mix things up a bit? I'm bringing sexy back. 2006. It certainly was an interesting year for pop music. It was the year Amy Winehouse refused to go to rehab, the year Gnarls Barkley went crazy, the year Corinne Bailey Rae put her records on. There's a lot of stuff from 2006 that honestly has held up surprisingly well over the last 16 years. But folks, let me tell you right now, it was a really damn good year for rock. There was so much good stuff coming from so many different places that year. This was the year of Stadium Arcadium, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, Sam's Town, 10,000 Days, Foiled, Blood Mountain, Broken Boy Soldiers, As Daylight Dies, Return to Cookie Mountain. Hell, this was a year so good, even bands I typically don't care for, like Korn, Hawthorne Heights, and even 3 Days Grace. Even they were able to put out some pretty damn good tunes. I mean, this year was dominated by stuff like Miss Murder, Knights of Sidonia, Move Along, Chasing Cars, Wasteland, Rapture, Welcome Home, Lights and Sounds, Ready to Fall, I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor, and lest we forget, the motherfucking Black Parade. We are not going to talk about any of those songs today, because like last time, we're covering the worst rock hits of the year, at least according to Billboard. This time I scraped the mainstream rock airplay and even the alternative airplay charts of 2006 to see what kind of gross, weird creatures were hiding under the rocks. If doing this music criticism thing for almost a decade has taught me one thing, it's that even in a good year, there can be a fair share of crap. Strap in, folks. The top 10 worst rock hits of 2006. Number 10. So one of the more controversial takes I've always had ever since the beginning was that I've never really liked Korn. I'm sorry, folks, but even when I was a chain-walleted, Janko-sporting nu metal boy, I just never really vibed with these guys. But like I mentioned up top, even these guys were able to put out a song I enjoyed in 2006. Because the music but this track here wasn't it. Listening to your twisted transistor. Yeah, See You on the Other Side as a whole is a controversial record for Korn. It represented one of the first of many future shifts in sound for the band. It was their first record without Brian Welch while he was off doing his weird Jesus-y shit. And it was produced by longtime pop veterans The Matrix, known mostly for producing stuff like, say, Avril Lavigne's biggest hits, Jason Mraz's debut single, most of the Liz Phair self-titled, and the mix on this thing is, certainly something. The album definitely had a mixed reception, a very mixed reception. I'd say this was the first time any major kinks started to show in the band's armor. The critics did turn on their last record, but at least the fans still ate that one up mostly. But man, this record, especially when the first single dropped, when Twisted Transistor came out. What the hell is that? What is that? Modeling? Hey! Yeah, this was the first time I ever heard anyone say, "What the fuck is this?" about a Korn song. And these were the guys who did Boo Rap Bap 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 Bap. But like, even as a non-fan, holy shit, I understand why y'all were so shocked. Those weirdly splashy drums, the melodious harmonizing on the vocals, that thing that almost resembles a guitar solo in the bridge. Which, for any other band, those would probably be considered positives, but on Korn, these kind of formulaic and typical sound structures, they seem off, don't they? This is not something Korn should be doing. For comparison, here's what their last single sounded like. You can see why people were a little taken aback by this, right? At least I'm sure they would be when they could even hear the damn song at least.
Korn has often been...
Why do you keep turning the audio down? I'm trying to listen to the music! Look, seeing Snoop Dogg do Korn shit is funny, but if I'm watching a Korn video, you'd figure I'd be here for Korn. Though honestly, even once people could hear the song, it still didn't go over that well. The song as a whole is just kind of a mess. Not just sonically, but lyrically as well.
Listening to your twisted transistor. Hold it between your legs. Turn it up, turn it up. Because the music goes and it is reaching inside you. And as the tears fall on your dress, the patience coming through. You're in a mess.
Are you serious? Jonathan Davis's explanation for these lyrics is that the song is just about being alone in your room and getting deep in music to help make you feel better. Getting deep in something. Do I have to get the big purple dick out for this one? I mean, play as coy as you like, Jonathan Davis, but... We all know what you're talking about here, homie. You ain't hiding shit. Which, on principle, I'm definitely not against or anything. I mean, y'all know I'm not afraid to get dirty over on this channel. But like y'all, the problem here is that it's Korn writing a song about... There's a bit of a tonal clash going on here, yeah? Not that Korn don't have their sillier moments, if you know where to look at least, but most of the time Korn is like... You know, they're not like a silly, fun times, goofy kind of band. Not in this stage, at least. They tried writing a silly song, but they don't put on a silly enough tone, and a lot of that old Korn darkness still penetrates through. And it makes the song sound just... This one kind of bit, that's who, anesthetizes bitch. Like sad? Like if this is about what I think it's about, it's kinda sad and miserable. Are y'all just not having fun while you're doing it? Like, if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong, homies, I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm sorry folks, I'm not buying it. This song is about one thing, and one thing only. Christurbating. Oh, don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, if you are someone that experiences sexual attraction at least, you know exactly what I am talking about. You've had a hard day, you're going through a lot of bad stuff in your life, life just sucks for you right now, and you just want to feel something good, anything good. You would sell your damn soul just to get even the smallest whiff of some endorphins, even if just for a minute. You just want to feel good about the world or yourself or just anything. You just want to feel good, if only for a minute. Hey, wait, I got a few minutes free. It just kind of blows my mind that Korn would even try something like this. And not only that, but that they'd be so surprisingly bad at it too. The sadder thing still, this was only the beginning of the downhill slide. Woof. Number 9. Another hurdle you always tackle when you're doing these retro lists is that no matter what, you're always going to come across these moments where you just have to stomp all over someone's nostalgia, no matter how universally hated or completely lost to history you think a song may be. There's always going to be that one guy, at least one guy, who finds your video and cries for 8 paragraphs that you ruined his childhood by making a cheeky little 3-second joke about how Sleaze Bees is a silly name for a band. I'm sorry, Brandon, I just guess you don't get to have a childhood now. That's my fault, apparently. I mean, whatever, I don't care, it's avoidable, just comes with the territory. I'm just saying, sometimes in this industry that I do, you gotta be the bad guy. And I think I might have to play the bad guy on this particular song here. I might have to break at least a few hearts, but folks, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm ready for it. Come on, bring it.
This thing sucks. Good lord, I bet this is bringing back some nostalgia. Any of you old fucks watching this remember Snakes on a Plane? Or, no, of course you don't remember. Not the movie, anyway. Nobody remembers the actual movie. It was B-movie trash with a C-level script that somehow got A-list talent on it. Everything you need to know about this movie you see in that monkey fight trailer. The movie was definitely a turd, and they knew they had a stinker on their hands, too. There was just no way in hell they were gonna convince people to actually see this trash. But Lord knows they tried. The entire marketing campaign for this movie basically just played up the ridiculousness of the whole enterprise. They tried to make people think this was going to be a good, bad movie. 2006 was also a year where stuff like The Room and Troll 2 started getting notoriety. The whole riff culture really started to explode around that time. So they tried to force it into being one of those riffable movies when... Yeah, this was clearly not meant to be one of those. I mean, they even went as far as to do reshoots to add extra scenes that would make the film more memeable. In fact, this is probably one of the first moments of, like, meme-based advertising to ever hit the mainstream, at least during our era. And the sad part is, it kinda worked. It didn't explode the box office or anything, but it doubled its budget and proved that advertising for the lulz was a perfectly viable marketing strategy. So we can actually thank this movie for blazing the trail for other cringeworthy ad campaigns. And like, this song, I mean, it already has a lot going against it, because like, it's obvious what this is. This was a cheap, dirty, absolutely cynical as fuck cash grab for this,
in a sense, walk away from that using more of a CG, an animated Snake.
Shitty movie. I mean, right off the bat, you ain't working with much, but hell, even going with this band specifically, it just feels like another example of how stupid can we be and get away with it kind of marketing. I couldn't hard confirm this anywhere, but I swear the producers only picked this band for the soundtrack because they're called Cobra Starship. Cobra Starship. Get it? Cobra Starship. It's a type of snake, and a type of plane, Cobra Starship, snakes on a plane. Hey, did you know that Samuel L. Jackson likes to say the word motherfucker? Hell, this is honestly supposed to be Cobra Starship's big debut breakout single. This was the first thing they ever dropped. And they're barely even on this song. 3 features on this thing. On a rock song. Yes, it's pop rock or alternative or whatever, but that's a lot for a band. That's almost an entire other band to carry your other band. People, the red flags are all over this thing. The band is barely even a presence on their own tune, you know? Will Beckett from The Academy sings the chorus, Travie McCoy from Gym Class Heroes does the bridge. They even have to share their pre-chorus with Maya Iverson. It makes me think that, much like the movie it's attached to, the producers just had no faith in these guys. But to their credit, they weren't really wrong. Times are strange. We got a free upgrade for 600 play. Oh, come on, really? I know the producers probably demanded you slip the title in there somewhere, but you didn't even try to make that work. It's time to fly, tonight the sky's alive, Snakes are not lizards, my guy. I know where your head is at, because, like, snakes and reptiles are like, in the same family. Why am I doing more actual research on this song than the actual doofuses who wrote it? If they didn't put the work in, I sure as hell ain't gonna. I know a fair amount of people still dig this one, just for the nostalgia's sake. I guess it's got a catchy enough hook and whatnot. But man, people, I'm telling you, if you do have a fondness for the song, it's only because of the nostalgia. Because if you go back and listen to this thing, oh people, I'm telling you, it so does not hold up. I hope Samuel L. Jackson at least got a good cut out of this. Motherfucker! Number 8. But, you know, a Cobra freaking Starship, they're basically a pop band. They barely even count as rock, you know? They barely belong on the alternative charts. This is supposed to be like a rock-focused list, right? So let's get some motherfucking rock in here, shall we? Rob freaking Zombie. From his seminal days with White Zombie to the electric mayhem of his solo career, Zombie rarely disappoints. He may not be the most thoughtful or even the most original artist out there, but if you put a Zombie record on, you know exactly what you're getting. Rob Zombie's music perfectly scratches that raw, primal itch for something heavy, sleazy, and fun. And oh, he released an album in 2006? He totally did! Oh, hell yeah, dude, let's check this out! I bet this is gonna be a banger! How could I have forgotten about... Huh? What? Oh, that's right. That I almost forgot. 2006 was the year Rob Zombie released Educated Horses. Oh, Educated Horses. What were you supposed to be? Now, full disclosure, I don't necessarily despise this album as a whole or anything. In a weird way, I almost respect it for what it is. At the top of his game, Zombie decided to take a chance and play around with his sound, try to add some things to the formula, and see how flexible he was capable of being. But the answer to that question sadly turned out to be... yeah, not very much. Not really. No. This is definitely a strange one in the Zombie catalog. Even the name of this thing is weird. And this is coming from a guy who names his album shit like the Lunar Injection Kool-Aid Eclipse Conspiracy. Apparently the title of the record comes from an old carnival term for trained animals. I mean, that in and of itself is a bad sign right out of the gate, isn't it? Hellbilly Deluxe! The Sinister Urge! Pony rides! Pony rides! Man, just everything about this album is off. This doesn't even look like a Rob Zombie album. It looks like a spoken word collection of poetry. I mean, the album does have decent moments on it, to be completely fair to the thing, but what I remember most about Educated Horses was the absolutely abysmal first impression it made. The title, the cover, and especially this first single. Y'all. What even is this? Is this even Zombie? It's so out of place for him. Hell, this is out of place for a lot of rock artists. This sounds like it's a deep cut from Kiss's disco album. The jingle jangle drums, the barely distorted guitar, and Zombie. Why is he whispering? Whispering? Rob Zombie, Robert Q. Zombert whispering on a track. One of Rob Zombie's greatest talents is the exact opposite of that. Sonically, you get why this probably rubbed people up the wrong way. Lyrically, it's not much better. It's trying to be this sly and seductive, kind of sexy song. Again, Zombie just can't pull this off. Zombie is way better at kinky than he is just sexy, you know? This song is trying to be lace when Rob is clearly built for leather. I guess it isn't miserable in execution, but man, just the idea in and of itself is just dreadful. No one really wants to see Rob Zombie do this. And no amount of decent to good execution was gonna save an idea this inherently bad. I mean, nobody comes to a drag race to watch people on bicycles, and no one comes to Rob Zombie for whatever the hell this Skinamax shit is supposed to be. Say whatever you want to about the record as a whole, but the fact that Rob Zombie basically had to put out a whole nother Hellbilly Deluxe just to get him out of this funk should tell you everything you need to know about this one. Moving on. Number 7. So, do you want to know one genre that really did not have much chart presence in 2006, even though it was arguably at one of its greatest peaks? Emo. Yeah, I was honestly kind of surprised by this. That was half the reason I wanted to tackle this year specifically. I figured we'd find some good old-fashioned emo trash to riff on, but surprisingly the genre doesn't really show up much on the charts. I mean, yeah, the big guns are there for sure, your My Chems, your Panics, etc. But outside of a few stragglers here and there, I don't know, there just isn't much there at all, good or bad. Though the more I think about it, and the more I remember from that specific time period, I guess it does make more sense than you'd maybe think it would. See, here's the thing you gotta remember. While third wave emo is super mythologized and looked upon fondly now, back in the day, y'all, you youngins, sit down, you're about to get a history lesson here. Emo was super duper lame in most circles. I hate to shatter the illusion for you, but y'all, emo was not cool. It depends on where you were, where you grew up, etc., but like, emo was, in a lot of places, just considered to be ultra lame. I was there for it, people. I was a teenager and a college student at emo's peak. And while it was big in places, it had circles where it was a big deal, it was also a genre that was looked upon with a certain disdain from most mainstream audiences, you know? There were a lot of emo kids back in the day, sure, but those kids that were really into it, you know, the ones you see in all those cool vintage photos with the hair and the makeup and the cool bracelets and shit. Yeah, no, folks, I'm telling you, those kids, if they were willing to go out in public like that, they got relentlessly teased for it. In some places, if you just got caught buying an emo album, it was like, Hot Topic sold plenty of My Chem and Taking Back Sunday merch, sure, but right next to all of those t-shirts were the anti-emo merchandise too. I mean, these days, emo is generally thought of as a cool thing to look back on, an interesting scene full of damn interesting music, but it was, even for as mainstream as it did get, still considered a niche genre. And as a result, yeah, folks, the charts just didn't give me much stuff to work with. And I lay all of this out there to just let you know that while I do love this era of emo, it had a certain reputation to it. And part of the reason it did was because the stuff that did penetrate the charts and get really, really big was usually stuff like this. Whew, boy, Dashboard Confessional. You don't really hear a lot about these guys these days, do ya? Well, Dashboard was kind of weird even for an emo band. Dashboard was originally started as an acoustic-only side project from Further Seems Forever singer Chris Carrabba. When people think of third wave emo, they generally think of folks like Fall Out Boy and Paramore. But in reality, one of the first acts to help blow the hinges off the Doors and make it a mainstream force wasn't any of those guys. It was Pretty Little Chrissy and his sad boy acoustic strummings. And before some of you jump down my throat on this, I'm actually not really a Dashboard hater. I actually have some fondness for their first two records. Those were basically made on shoestring budgets, were spread mostly by word of mouth, and to me, they encompass the best style of Dashboard. Stripped down, simple, and achingly earnest. Maybe a little too earnest, if you know what I mean. See, that's the thing. I don't hate Chris's early records. Oh, but to folks who don't have, like, nostalgia blindness for this, I can understand 100% why you might. You just, I don't know how else to say it, but you kind of had to be there. Chris's delivery is, some would say, passionate. But in 2000, 2001, this kind of thing had its place. No one else was really doing it quite like this, so, you know, it deserved to exist for its time. But man, oh man, did this style of emo have a shelf life, and people, it was not very long. And by the mid-2000s, woof. It really did not take them long to transform from this bleeding heart, emotionally honest, raw kind of thing to mushy-gushy fart boy crap you'd hear on a D-tier CW drama. And I mean, it was music like this that sort of fueled the reputation that emo got. You know, I mean, people forget why emo was originally called emo. Yes, when it was first thought up, it was meant to reflect the emotional nature of the lyrics and the songwriting. But, like, emo was also used as a derogatory term, inferring the whiny, weepy, crybaby, male manipulator facade that a lot of these acts really loved to take on. And you know, I'm willing to defend Dashboard Confessional up to a point, but by 2006, man, Dashboard Confessional really sounded like the former. Like, god damn, these guys just fell off a cliff. I mean, listen to that opening. This is the kind of shit you'd write if you were intentionally making fun of an emo song.
I'm at Burger King with my Burger Queen.
Maybe I am just nostalgia blind for their older work, but holy shit, Dashboard's later material has aged like milk. Maybe the mushy, gushy stuff just wasn't appealing once we all grew up a little. Maybe we all just got cringe whiplash, but like, after this record specifically, even in the emo scene, it just became terminally uncool to be into this band, and like, I can see why, you know? Late era Dashboard is just really, really hard to defend. It's hard to even sit through. But you know, if some brave motherfucker at Emo Night Karaoke puts on Screaming Infidelities, I am the first motherfucker on that stage going, "There is everywhere! Screaming Infidelities! Fuck you, Kayla! You broke my fucking heart!" Number 6. God, this is probably going to sound really weird coming out of me, but I think it's time I just outright admitted something to y'all. Nickelback gets a bad rap. I know, I have my history with this band, but like, that's the thing about the charts this year. There was a distinct lack of emo, but you know what is just all over the shit in 2006 across both mainstream and alternative charts? All of the shit that's totally cringe today. Shitty post-grunge, the last suffering strands of nu metal. Basically all of those bands that further on down the line would just become the new butt rock. All the usual suspects are there, your Stains and your Godsmacks, but even some bands that were completely washed up by this point still scored a few minor hits here and there. You'd be surprised. Guys like fucking Crossfade, fucking Three Doors Down, even... Oh, really? And hearing some of the god-awful trash that actually did steal spots from deserving bands, that softens me up on Nickelback big time. I'm just saying Nickelback ain't that bad, folks. Like, it could be so much worse. But, people, here's the thing, though. When this band did suck... Ooh, boy, they actually did really, really suck. I mean, Nickelback have been rock's punching bag for so long, it's actually become uncool to trash them now. They're going through a process I like to call the Journey effect. People are starting to come back around on them. But y'all, they really do. They really, really, really do have a few dogs in their catalog. And while the narrative is changing on Nickelback as a whole, it is very safe to say that few folks are changing their tune on this one. Like, this song just sucks. And like... Every good gold deed's gonna wind up there. Every playboy bunny... This one doesn't deserve to be forgiven. I mean, for one thing, the song is just bland as paste sonically, even by mid-2000s Nickelback standards. The basic-ass chord progressions, the Songwriter 101 song construction, and all of Nickelback's, usual flaws, i.e. Chad Kroeger's hoarse with laryngitis delivery. All of that is present and accounted for, and honestly, it's particularly bad on this track. Like, this is just the butter sandwich of Nickelback songs. Even if it didn't have other flaws, this might be enough to make it one of their worst, but like any bad Nickelback song, it goes that extra mile, you know? For one, those spoken word sections that are being delivered by no less than Billy Gibbons?
So how you gonna do it?
Okay, we'll touch on that a little later here. But actually, while we're on the topic of lyrics, I mean, it's all that same shit we've basically been hearing since the 80s, only zero innovation or change. I've heard a million songs that sound like this, and almost every single one of them does something better with the idea than this. I mean, man, you're singing about drugs and sex and the rock and roll lifestyle, and you're making it sound boring. How are you making that sound boring? That almost takes talent in and of itself. It just lacks that punch that a song about rock star excess, sleaze, and glamour needs. It just doesn't have any stylishness or appeal to it. There's nothing alluring about it. It just sounds like your dad singing about what he wanted as a teenager, and God, that just makes you feel sad, doesn't it? And the cookie cutter writing definitely doesn't help the cliches come off, but again, choosing Billy Gibbons as your icon of rock star access? I mean, not that ZZ Top weren't rock stars in their own right. I'm sure they did their own fair share of partying, but ZZ Top is just not the first band I think about when it comes to, like, party hard rock stars, you know? Like, you couldn't have paid a little bit extra to get, like, Nikki Sixx in there. Steven Tyler wouldn't give you guys 5 minutes for a shoot. Hell, around this time, Ozzy would have probably done it for fucking a granola bar and a coupon for Taco Bell.
She booked me a fucking gynecologist appointment.
Look, tell her to book me a gynecologist appointment. I wouldn't mind.
I don't know, y'all. I listened to Billy Gibbons try to sell me on the rock and roll lifestyle.
So how you gonna do it?
And all I can think is, Mommy, why is Grandpa trying to sell me blow? A bunch of rock stars singing about the rock star life. This should be the easiest slam dunk any band can do, right? But Nickelback still can't stick the landing on this one. Chad, I've been listening to your music for well over 2 decades now. I know for a fact you don't know what that is. You're Nickelback! No one has ever tried to censor Nickelback, even though I'm sure a lot of us might prefer if they had. Look, if shit like this isn't getting censored, then nothing you do will. Sit down. I do agree that Nickelback gets a little overhated these days. I mean, people, even I'm guilty of overhating on Nickelback.
Two of the worst goddamn singers in all of rock history! Chad Kroeger and
Oh, hush. But, like, no amount of rose-tinted glasses or playing devil's advocate or whatever can make up for... You know, Chad, I know you're joking on this line and you're trying to be sarcastic, but buddy, you really could have used him on this track. Hey,
I wanna be a rock star. Yes, I
do! Number 5. Okay, so you know how I showed a clip from my old Hero video just a minute ago? Okay, so the next band... People, I promise I didn't do this on purpose for like a bit or whatever. But guess who else had a hit in 2006? Freaking Saliva. I cannot stand this band. Just full stop. If I were to ever do a top 10 worst bands of the 2000s, these guys would easily make the top 5. They have no charisma. Josie Scott's voice is so nasal and gross. He makes Fat Mike look like Freddie goddamn Mercury. They even look gross. They sound gross. They look gross. Look at these guys. These guys seriously look like the guys at anime conventions who refuse to shower and try to grope all the cosplayers when they aren't looking. Saliva was an absolutely perfect name for them because they both look and sound like absolute spit. And they were so successful. No, folks, really, they were hot shit back in the day. Hot spit, even. Okay, I'll stop. Given how quickly everyone forgot about these guys, though, admit it, you did too until I mentioned them here, right? You'd think these guys were just a disgusting little blip on the radar we all just heard once and got over. But no, people. These guys hung around. Hell, as a matter of fact, 2006 may have been their most successful year ever. Their 5th studio album, Bloodstained Love Story, had 2 songs break into the mainstream rock top 10. Hell, one song even saw action on the goddamn Hot 100. What song did these Thunder Chuds put out that was so good that even the pop crowd would be willing to hold their nose and give it a chance?
Ladies and gentlemen, please, would you bring your attention to me?
Really? Well, I guess that's one way to get around Josie's horrible singing voice. Just straight up don't let him sing. Josie literally only sings 2 lines in the pre-chorus, and the rest is either just, you know, generic-ass carnival barking or plagiarizing POD. Hey, if Josie doesn't have to sing, that doesn't mean we have to put up with his nasal, shrimpy-ass singing voice. Right? Right? Yeah, no, I still totally hear it. All he's doing is reading lines off of a damn cue card, and he still sounds like he's trying to audition for the role of a mucus goblin in a decongestant commercial. Why on earth would you hire a man without nasal cavities to be the lead singer of your rock band? Only in nu metal, people. And y'all, this wasn't just a hit. This was easily their biggest hit, too. People apparently ate this thing up. Super Bowl 41 used it, the Calgary Flames used it extensively in their 08-09 season. Yeah, that might explain a few things. The NHRA, the Ohio Buckeyes, they've both used it extensively over the years. I guess that does kind of make sense. If this song does work at all, it's as a stupid, idiotic, pumped-up jock jam. You know, that way they can play it over the loudspeaker of a stadium where it's so muffled no one can properly hear it. Hell, this thing even got used as the backdrop audio in TV spots for the 2009 Star Trek reboot. No, I'm serious. Check this out. Though notice that they totally use the instrumental version here. Yeah, I promise you that wasn't an accident. God, yeah, because that's what the Star Trek fan base wants. What? Sir, I can't understand what you're saying. And I'm fucking Scotty. I don't know what he's saying, but I have the funniest feeling it's racist. I'm a fucking alien. And somehow he's still less annoying than Shatner. Waka waka. And wrestling fans, you can stop yelling at the screen now. Obviously, the song's most noticeable achievement was when it was used as the main theme to WrestleMania 23. That's everyone's favorite WrestleMania, right? Jesus Christ, I do not miss the Ruthless Aggression era. I really don't.
Number 4.
See, that was a serious problem with the rock charts this year. So much of it was just boring-ass, basic bitch dad rock. And, like, not even a good mix-up of the stuff either. It's just chock full of acts no one but weekend biker dads care about anymore. And because rock radio is so smothered in shady backdoor promotion deals and industry payola, not nearly enough time to get into that one, it's just a lot of the same crap over and over and over again. Here you go, here's your 4th track off of Stain's 3rd worst album. Enjoy that for 15 weeks, you lucky so-and-sos. I mean, the 1990 list was also teeming with nobodies, but at least the nobodies on that side could occasionally be weird or goofy, or at the very least interesting in some kind of way. 1990 was a year where nobody knew what the hell to do with the genre, so they tried a lot of shit. 2006, we were much more comfortable, and people were just milking the same old trends and formulas over and over and over again. For example... Oh, I almost feel like this one's overdue. I mean, given the praise that I gave these guys during my Guilty Pleasures video, as backhanded as a lot of it may have been, I still feel like I really need to reaffirm my stance on this band. I can't fucking stand Buck Cherry. 99% of the time, at least. But, like, Crazy Bitch? Make fun of Crazy Bitch for 5 to 10 minutes, Crash? Really? I mean, who hasn't dogged on this shitty-ass song at some point or another, right? Like, it's too easy of a target almost. You know, maybe that's what's wrong here. I'm approaching this from the wrong angle. I mean, if anyone could potentially defend this song, it's probably gonna be me, right? I've stuck up for this band in the past, and y'all already know I'm anything but a prude. Let's give it a fair shake. Alright, let's give it a fair chance. What does this song have? Well, I've heard some people say it works as like a dirty, filthy strip club jam. I mean, that's already not a huge point in its favor, but like, some might say it's sexy in that lewd, graphic, dangerous way, almost in a pornographic fashion. Does it though?
Scream so loud, getting fucking laid.
Yeah, because that's something that's totally sexy. Screaming out loud about how you actually got to have sex. Yes, I am having sex! I am having sex! I am participating in intercourse!
Sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave this Aldi's.
So you paid for it? Now, okay, I am not one to dog on sex work or sex workers, but, you know, even taking that in mind, the act of paying for sex? Again, why are you shouting about it? This isn't exactly a point of pride. I just paid for pussy!
Sir, what did the Aldi ever do to you?
Yeah, this is not sexy. I'm not sure the person who wrote these lyrics has actually had sex. Okay, so is it at least decent sonically? Does it work as a song? Well, some of the guitar work is okay, I won't lie. If you're into that 70s adjacent biker bar kind of soloing and lead work, real talk, I've honestly heard worse. But again, like with Saliva, I think a lot of what ruins Buckcherry for me is... Yeah, Jason Todd, I'm sorry, I just can't stand the way he delivers these lines. He just oversins like crazy. He often slurs his words so badly I can barely understand what he's saying half the time. He sounds like someone who lets the cocaine do the singing for him. I'm sorry, folks, I'll stand up for the movies, but only because that song was like an outlier to their usual output. That was a black sheep in their catalog that stood out specifically because of how not Buckcherry it is. 99% of the time, this is the kind of thing they were doing. And... sex workers deserve more respect, and so do the poor, poor people who work at Aldi.
Number 3.
See, that's another problem with this list. A lot of this stuff is probably stuff you've already heard before. For this next entry, I promise we are bucking that trend. Oh, yeah! Who? I swear I'm not making this up. This guy existed, he was a real musician, and he, honest to God, had a hit. Okay, has anyone actually heard of this guy? I just want someone to tell me that they actually remember who this guy is, so I don't feel like I fell into an episode of The Twilight Zone. But I promise you, he had a hit. It was a small, mainstream rock charting song at the very bottom of the list, but he did make it. He is there, right there in black and white. But unless I've fallen into some kind of Mandela effect bullshit, there is just almost nothing on this guy. He barely exists. The only traces of this guy online I've been able to find are an AllMusic page with the absolute bare basics, most of which is just taken from his own website, which is an ultra cheap and not very elaborate setup with one paragraph, one photo, and a Vimeo link to... Is that Dave Foley? How in the hell did this nobody get Dave Foley to be in one of his music? Oh, wait, that's right. This is 2010, Dave Foley. Ooh, poor Dave. I'm glad to see he's doing better these days, at least. Now, he's not the most obscure artist I've ever covered by any means, but, you know, for someone who had a legit hit on the Billboard charts, this guy is just an absolute ghost. I mean, he must have been on the radio somewhere to make the airplay charts, but hell, even when I search him on YouTube, I actually get more results for a stand-up comedian named John Huck than I do Huck Johns, and
That beard makes you look like a racist. That is a small-minded, ignorant thing to say to someone. I think the word you're looking for is rapist.
He's no Patton Oswalt, but I'll take him over Andrew Dice Clay, I guess. This guy had to have had some success somewhere, but these days, there's just nothing out there on the guy. Hell, the only place I could even find lyrics for his material was Reverb Nation. Reverb fucking Nation. I had to go on Reverb Nation in this year of our Lord 2022. My computer is probably infected with all kinds of shit. Remember that bit in the 1990 video where I rattled off a bunch of bands I'd never heard of? Almost every single one of those guys has more material out there about them than this guy does. Sleazebees mops the floor with this guy. This person is a flea on the back of the Hooters. But still, this song charted. It was on the radio. It was a hit in some weird parallel dimension. It must have been a big deal somewhere. But y'all, do you want to know what's really sad? Like, check out how many views this song has on YouTube as of today. I promise I am not making that up. Sign up for a random YouTube channel if you don't already have one. Upload a random ass video of your cat or your dog or your bird. If you got something cute, just take a quick video of it and just upload it to your channel, just randomly, out of nowhere. And you'll probably get more views on that video in 1 week than this guy's legitimate Billboard chart hit got in 8 years online. Seriously, I would love to see people try this. I want to see how many of y'all can pull that off. And if you do it, send me those videos because... Aww. As for the song itself, you know, now that I've heard the guy, I kind of get why nobody wants to remember this, you know? The music is bland, boring, redneck party bullshit. You boo off stage at the county fair so Molly Hatchet can come on sooner. Whatever, it is what it is, I guess. I'm just glad I was able to find any footage of this guy. Hell, there's barely even any live footage. And even the live footage that's out there is, oh no. Oh no, 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 no. He didn't pay you to shoot this, did he? Hey Luke, how do we feel about people who don't pay their photographers?
Talking about not paying photographers, eh? Story as old as the camera itself! Never mind that I've spent thousands of dollars on equipment and gear over the years. That's okay. I can make my money back on the exposure bucks you make me. Just ignore that I have monthly Adobe fees to use the subscription that I need to edit your photos. That's okay. I'll be alright so long as you give me credit on Instagram. Doesn't matter if I have a professional portfolio showing off all the names I've worked with and what I'm capable of. That's fine so long as I get paid in high fives and smiles. Not like it doesn't take me any time or energy or effort to edit all those photos I take for you. You don't have to pay me though. Why would you think that? Seriously, if you are a person that has ever asked a professional photographer to just bring your camera and take some shots for free, you are the biggest.
Wherever the hell you're hiding, Huck, do me a favor and at least send this poor guy a check. Come on.
Number 2.
It's time. It's been 10 years, but it's finally time. When your problems are 1,000 feet high, God, 1,000 foot high. You thought we were getting out of this decade without a taste of the shitty, fuck-awful Christian rock? You thought wrong, motherfucker. Sit down. It's time for Sunday school. Believe it or not, 1,000 Foot Crutch got a hit on the mainstream charts. A pretty damn successful one, too. This wasn't a one and done either. It spent 24 weeks on the chart. And like, no, it's not the fact that it's a Christian song or even a Christian artist that bugs me necessarily. I mean, hell, if you look at the lyrics to this thing, there's almost nothing Christian in here at all. It's more just... I mean, fucking listen to it! It's mixed like hot shit. Everything is muffled. The drums, the guitar, even the vocals are stifled. This sounds like Broken Side being played through a mud puddle. Now, you can argue that it was Christian music. They didn't have the budget to sound good. And like, yeah, there are some cases where that is totally a valid argument for some of this stuff, but not here, folks. These guys were not on some podunk-ass church label. This was released on Tooth and Nail. Even if you don't listen to Christian music, you're probably familiar with Tooth and Nail. They've released some very big stuff. They are the premier Christian rock label of the 2000s. Some other stuff they were releasing around this time? So yeah, it wasn't the label's fault. So maybe it was the producer? I mean, Christian rock doesn't necessarily attract the best and the brightest of the industry. Nope! They got Arnold freaking Lanny to do this album. Now, he's not a name that's widely known, but he is a big deal in certain circles. And if you happen to be an Our Lady Peace fan, he's the guy responsible for... literally all of their best stuff. Honestly, these guys had all the best cards in their hand for this record. The best label they could have been on at the time, the best producer, the best everything that a Christian band can have at least, and with all the best cards in their deck... this is the best they can do. Oh. And to top it all off, again, their vocalist. Okay, I see what he's trying to do. This is a, pump up the crowd kind of song. This is the one where you get the people moving, but like, this freaking guy, his voice is just so wimpy and weak. The dude is not a screamer, and it's obvious he's had no training on it. He doesn't sound commanding, he sounds like your 8th grade basketball coach.
I want 20 line-to-lines before the 4th period bell rings, and I want them now!
But even his normal singing, it's just so freaking castrated. His voice is full of these breaks and half falsettos. His voice does not command any authority. You don't ask for permission to move, you tell people to fucking move! No, I will not move. There is nothing that weak, wimpy, raspy little voice of yours can do to make me move. Don't like it? Forgive me. Not to mention, the song is just so fucking repetitive. They repeat this line in the chorus like, when you step into the circle and shake like we do. When you step into the circle and shake like we do. When you step into the circle and shake like we do. When you step into the circle and shake like we do. When you step into the circle and shake like we do. When you step into the circle and shake like we do. When you step into the circle and shake like we do. 50 times! I swear to God, I have heard step into the circle and shake like we do so many fucking times. If you carve open my skull, you will find that line tattooed on one of the folds of my cerebellum. What the fuck does that line even mean? Is there a lot of shaking going on in them Christian mosh pits? If you're shaking in the mosh pit, you're doing it completely wrong. Maybe it's a charismatic mosh pit, I don't know. For all the shit I've been saying about the genre, there were a handful of acts that were honestly genuinely pretty great. Your Anne Boleyn's, your Norma Jean's, your Underoaths, your Mays, they were out there if you knew where to look for them. But apparently the place to find it wasn't on the Billboard charts because, like... Whew! Well, that was a fine and dandy pile of crap. How about we knock out a few quick dishonorable mentions before we wrap things up, shall we? Yeah, out of everything great about this year, this was also the year of Hinder. Honestly, I could have put all 3 of their big singles on here, but I figured they were at their absolute worst on their mushy ballad, which... Sometimes I wish she was you. Yeah, mushy isn't the right word here. What's the word I'm looking for? Trashy, that's it. I mean, what more can I really say about it? The whole record basically sounds like a Jerry Springer episode where everyone has laryngitis. You ever look back at Hoobastank and think, what on earth happened to them? Why weren't they more successful, especially after their big hit? Well, part of the reason was...
Not to bend forward, yes, but I think I'll kill myself if I never do. What do I have to do to get inside of him?
Ew! Yeah, that's what everyone wanted out of Hoobastank, right? A pervy sex jam. It was a close call between this and another big rock hit they had this year from the same album, Born to Lead. A song where they try to act all tough and mean? You are Hoobastank! Wow, y'all, that third record really is a mess, isn't it? I don't want to show you this one just yet. I need to give you the elevator pitch for this one. Pantera with David Allan Coe on vocals. I repeat, Pantera with David Allan Coe.
Finger fucking Sally worked at Kelly's bar. She showed me her titties
on vocals.
I am a gambler, God knows I've been around.
Pantera's legacy is definitely a complicated one, but we can all agree this is crap, right? I like this song better when it was called Vertigo. You know, it's crazy to think about just how hard Jet fell off after their first record. Get Born came out in 2003, and that record just ruled the fucking world. But the moment they tried to do anything else, everyone turned on them, like instantly. And what's weird is that Jet didn't really change much. It's still basically the same as their last record. They didn't change, but the rest of us did. And once everyone snapped out of it, oh my god, there was no snapping back in. Better late than never, I suppose. There is honestly one song off of this record I do genuinely like, but rest assured, no, it is not this one. It was a tough call between this or Twisted Transistor, honestly. I have no idea what possessed Korn to write a song about politics. Or rather, not about politics. Korn doesn't want to talk about politics. I don't want to hear Korn talk about politics. So why the hell are we even here? Oh, go to hell. And with that out of the way... Number 1. So, for all the great bands, artists, and trends of 2006, all the Gnarls Barkleys and Sugar We're Going Downs and Danny Californias, there's also one thing you really gotta remember about 2006. And I'll illustrate this by showing you the song that reigned supreme over all of them. This was the number 1 song of the top 100 that year. Daniel Powter's Bad Day.
Cause you had a bad day, you're taking one down, you sing a sad song.
Thankfully, that song is not on this list. No, for real, it's not. It never charted on the rock or alternative charts. Understandably so, it's not a rock song. Gave you a bit of a heart attack there, didn't I? I'm laying that out there to let you know that 2006, with all its fantastic features, was also the year of the lame-o. These mushy, half-baked, usually piano-driven, lame white guys. And believe me, it did not just stay relegated to the pop charts either. I've already briefly mentioned Keane, but yeah, they had a big 2006. John Mayer's continued reign of terror went unchecked. For every Black Parade, there was a Bad Day. For every I Write Sins Not Tragedies, there was a You're Beautiful. And for every Miss Murder, Vicarious, or Bat Country, there was... I'm sorry, these guys were absolutely the worst of the bunch, by a mile in my books. And the title track to their debut record is... well, I have to tread a little cautiously here. This isn't like a Nickelback or a Saliva song where I can just clown around and poke sticks at it for being stupid. No, this is a serious song about a serious topic. It's about trying to help someone in your life who, for whatever reason, is in a desperate, awful, and potentially life-threatening place. Addiction, mental health struggles, that kind of thing. They wrote this song with the intention of it being a kind of step-by-step guide on how to help someone through this situation. Except, Step
one, you see we need to talk. He walks, you see, sit down, it's just a talk.
Oh god, it's the first line and it already feels like peeling off a band-aid. The song is deeply unsettling and uncomfortable lyrically. Like, I think we've all been on both sides of this we need to talk conversation, and if you're trying to sell this as a how to do this right kind of deal,
Let her know that you know best. After all, you do know best.
oh, fuck you. Because that's what everyone who's struggling and desperate wants to hear out of someone claiming to help them. I know what's best for you. How do you know what's best for me? You thought Lost was good. Fuck you, Kyle.
He begins to raise his voice. You lower yours. Grant someone last choice.
Oh, there we go. The most effective form of de-escalation. Threats and ultimatums. And for those of you screaming at your screens right now about how I don't understand what the song is actually about, I want to peel back the curtain a little bit and stop burying the lead. Yes, I know that the uncomfortable, confrontational, needlessly icky feel to this song is completely intentional. I know that. Here's the thing about this song. The band originally started with the idea of trying to write a song about how to save someone's life through a conversation, but in trying to write it, they realized they couldn't do it. That everything they wrote or tried to put down to paper just sounded judgy, preachy, and confrontational. So they actually scrapped that concept and decided to make the song about those feelings. The song isn't really about how to save a life, it's about wanting to save a life, but not being able to help. Like the things you think are the right choices and the right things to say often aren't, and it's often so much more complicated than that. I get it. I understand the subtext of this song. I know what they are trying to actually cut across here. Credit where it's due, there is a brilliant idea for a song in here, but a good premise alone does not make a song good, people. The problem is in execution. This band is just not nearly talented enough to make a song like this work. A big part of it is just the lyrics themselves. With a meta-conceptual song like this, you really need to have a careful hand with it. Because if you don't convey the message you're trying to send and the subtext you're trying to put across clearly enough, it's going to fly over everyone's heads. Actually, you know, there was another song from 2006 that actually pulls this particular method of songwriting off absolutely brilliantly. Tool's Vicarious. That song is about how people crave violence and sensationalism from the hypocritical comforts of their own homes and televisions. But it's sung from a first-person narrative. Cause tragedy fills me. Don't look at me like I'm a monster. See, if Maynard hadn't pulled this off right, you'd think that Maynard is just a psychopath who loves watching horrible things happen to people. Even still, I'm not sure I'd put that 100% past him. But his lyrics and tone and the mood of the instrumentation, all of it works together to help us understand the subtext and help us separate the singer from the song. On this song, though,
Let her know that you know best. After all, you do know best.
yeah, they totally don't do that. This just sounds 100% like
After all,
dude's a dickhead. They fail, and they fail badly.
some sort of window to your right. I see goes left and just stay right.
There's a window to the right, but you go right and left. You just rhymed right with right. Don't make me tap the Limp Bizkit sign.
Drive until you lose the road. A brave one to follow.
Wait, so I can either drive off the road, or I can break from the roads that I'm on, which would also be going off the roads. So you want me to go off-road, but not in one...
What in God's holy name are you blathering about?
Yeah, these lyrics are just so ham-fisted and clumsy that a lot of the deeper implications were just, well, lost in the bitterness, ironically. Despite how good of an idea there is in this concept, it's still being pulled off by the freaking Fray, you know? I cannot stand how this band sounds 90% of the time. It's no wonder everyone misinterpreted this song, because sonically, this thing is a fucking disaster. Listen to those opening chords. I mean, that right there is something I've always hated about this band, just how freaking nursery rhyme their fucking piano arrangements are. Like, this is supposed to be a deeply sad and mournful song. Put it in a minor key, for fuck's sake! And like, good God, Isaac Slade's fucking vocals. Just the way he mumbles and moans. I care enough about you to save your life, but not enough to open my mouth more than 4 centimeters. I mean, come on, dude, don't be unreasonable.
Take them Daniel spark plugs out and that little hole, you just put a little hole around there.
I mean, the lyrics of this song would be hard to listen to coming out of anyone's mouth, but it makes it like 500 times worse that they're being said like... To me, this is easily the worst song of the year, mostly because of the shrieking amount of wasted potential on this track. In the hands of more talented songwriters, this could have been a great song, but they butchered it in execution. This was a song that needed a few more passes, or maybe they should have gotten someone else in to help them fine-tune it. It's a song that deserves to be great, but is just that much more tragic by how desperately far it misses the mark. On January 16th of this very same year, the Indianapolis Colts, my Indianapolis Colts, pulled off a miracle on the Steelers on their last playoff game when Nick Harper picked up a fumbled pass near the Steelers' end zone and carried it all the way to their own 46-yard line. They were down 18-21 and had just snatched a potential victory right out of Pittsburgh's jaws. With 19 seconds to go, all they had to do was make one field goal to save their Super Bowl chances. Mike Vanderjagt stepped out onto the field and lined up that crucial, life-saving kick and missed it by a mile. That's what this song feels like to me. This very same year, My Chemical Romance would release Famous Last Words, a song so good it almost feels like a direct rebuttal to this track.
Would I stayed up with you all night had I known how to save a life?
And yeah, in this scenario, My Chemical Romance are the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Fray are the Indianapolis Colts. Thank you all for watching. I'm Crash Thompson, and I need to reevaluate my life. See you when I see you. Never gets any easier being a Colts fan, I tell you. Holy shit.